extent. You know, diseases in Western medicine are specific collections of symptoms. So in order to have, for instance, let's look at three conditions that are very closely related to each other. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, and irritable bowel syndrome. They're all very closely related, but with each of them, you have a different collection of symptoms. If the symptoms aren't exactly the same, it's not that condition. They have to match. So it's just about which symptoms you have. You know, I suppose having diseases, having these names, is a shorthand way of talking about what's going on. Now there's a danger to it. Danger to naming things is it gives the pharmaceutical companies license. So I'm older than most of you here. In fact, I'm older than most of you put together. But if you, not really, if you, when I was a kid, there were shy kids on the playground, right? There were shy kids. There's no shy kids anymore. Now kids have social anxiety disorder. It's now a disease. This is real. I'm not making, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. It's real. It's now a disease, and that means that pharmaceutical companies can market drugs for children who are shy to make them less shy, to treat their shyness. Okay? So, I mean, this is scary. All drugs are toxic garbage that do not belong in the body. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with some kids taking longer to develop socially than others. It's just what happens. Some kids who are shy turn out to be amazing, very social people later on in life. Why do we need to treat them as if they have a disease? Okay? You know, when I was a kid, some kids had a lot of energy. Now they're hyperactive. Now they have a disease we have to treat. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in Oakland, California, about 10 years ago, I think, they took all the soda and candy machines out of the schools. And guess what? All the ADD went away. All the behavioral problems went away. All the delinquency issues and vandalism, all that stuff disappeared when those kids didn't have access to sugar and caffeine all day long. Because some of them were drinking, 8 sodas every day, which they needed to do to wash down all the garbage food they were getting from the machines. Okay? You can't choke that stuff down without some Coke, right?
Now in Israel, they take the soda machines out of the school, but they put milk products machine instead.
Milk products.
The Dairy Council bribes the
Right.
Ministry of Health and Education to, this is better.
Oh, come on, that's not possible. Come on, what are you talking about? This is government. Government's there to protect us. They're looking out for our interests, right?
This is just my imagination.
Yeah. Yeah, the government does look out for people's interests.
The rich one.
Yeah, the people who own the government, which, are like 0.5% of the wealthiest people. They're the ones whose interests are being looked out for. Everybody else, we're basically screwed. If you believe your government, you know how you can tell when a politician is lying, right? Their lips move.
Research and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
then. Let me see if I've got this right. You're saying that all the people who donate the most money, for instance, for cancer research or for research in other diseases, are the companies that are producing the products that create those conditions. Exactly. Well, this is perhaps so that their executives can sleep at night. This is blood money, right? They're enables them to maybe feel a little bit more okay with what they're doing. I don't know how people can sleep at night. Even today, there's 1 or 2 cigarette industry executives, cigarette company presidents, still saying there's no evidence that smoking causes lung cancer. What? I mean, that research was done like 70 or 80 years ago. A long time ago, it became clear about that. And for years and years, they covered it up. But, I mean, finally, 20 or 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, they finally admitted, okay, there's a link. We know that. And there are still people who deny it. That's always going to be the case. It used to be the predominant way of thinking was food is food. If it wasn't good for us, they wouldn't let you sell it, right? Now, most of us realize today, okay, that's idiotic. That's ridiculous. Not all substances available in the grocery store are the same. Oh, in a typical American grocery store, are there big grocery stores in Israel now? There must be. Now, like in the U.S., there are typical grocery stores, 50,000 square feet, 5,000 meters, right? Some of them are much bigger than that. And you've got 50,000, roughly 50,000 different items in a typical grocery store. My guess is there might be 20, maybe 50 that are food out of 50,000. 50,000, 5,000, so 500 would be 1%. 50 items is 1/10 of 1%, which means 99.9%, if I'm right, 99.9% of what they're selling, stuff that doesn't belong in your body. And they know it. Processed food, I mean, years and years ago, many decades ago, probably at least 7 or 8 decades ago, cigarette companies figured out that while tobacco is addictive, because it includes things like nicotine, they could make it even more addictive by adding additional nicotine and other ingredients into it. Well, don't you think these multi-billion-dollar processed food companies figured the same thing out a long time ago? Of course they did. They've got one very powerful asset on their side. The fact is that most people don't want to know the truth. They want to keep doing what they want to do. And if it's harmful to them, they don't really want to hear about it. Because that means they'd have to change, and they don't want to. So they know that most people will pay little attention